So in a previous video I showed you some of the snakes that are out of brumation, such as this Russian rat snake. This is a species or an animal that will be kept outdoors after the breeding season and after the frosts have gone here in the UK. So brumated, indoors, warmed up, feeding, mated indoors, and then they'll go outside, the male first and the female when she's laid her eggs. Now that's not just the same with the other European species like the four-line snake. Even these Vietnamese blue beauty snakes, they'll go outside from about Easter, April, Mayish onwards, depending on the weather at the time, but they're very, very tough, perfectly hardy, wouldn't want to be frosty, but they're more like a subtropical species than something that needs tropical temperatures. Blue beauty snakes thrive outside in the UK, some sort of spring to autumn, believe it or not. So again, this girl's going to be, she's mated, when she's laid her clutch, she'll be outside, and her bigger, greener boyfriend, he'll be outside very soon. But it's not what I'm talking about. Today, I want to show you what is outside and what's going on with those outdoor enclosures over at the Falconry Centre that are on show to the public. Right, I've seen terrapins out in my pond. First week of March, it's lovely and sunny, certainly in this walled garden. But is there any outdoor reptiles dragged out? I went adder hunting yesterday with a friend that's never seen an adder, and we didn't see one, and they're always out by this time of year on a sunny day. So they're not out fully, or my eyesight's just absolutely rubbish now. Let's see if there's anything out. Grass snakes in the wild usually come out much later than adders, I've found. Adders are always the early birds. And we saw several adult common lizards active yesterday in the sunshine in the woods, but we flipped some rocks because he's never seen a slow worm, and we found no slow worms because the rocks were cold. There was certainly not enough heat. Even black roadside debris, which holds slow worms in this location, there was no slow worms at all. And then I flipped a rock and we found 5 yearling common lizards and 2 yearling slow worms hibernating or brumating underneath, still cold. So the adult common lizards were out, but the younger ones were still in brumation. That's quite interesting, and I guess the younger ones don't need to go through and get fattened up and breed this year. But there's no grass snakes and there's no viperine snakes that I can see in here. So again, hot in the sun, probably still very cold underground, and I'm pleased with that because next week it's freezing at night and it's only 8 degrees in the day. You don't want your reptiles to peak too early, that's for sure. Often what happens now in the summer, they're coming out and not getting enough food or enough temperature to digest food, so they're kind of, oh my God, look. Sand lizard babies from last year has survived the winter. Wow. I think there should be 3 in there. There's definitely 1. Try not to get too near. Oh, there's 2. Now, they was hanging around that end of that log in the autumn, so rather than the 2-foot deep hibernaculum, I think those guys have actually gone in or under that log. I don't think they've travelled 4 feet out from the hibernaculum to just sunbathe there. There's no need to. I think they've been under there. Look at those beauties, captive bred European sand lizards. The British version is one of our rarer reptiles, although thanks to introductions they're not doing too badly at all. And as far as I've been told, all reintroduction release programs of sand lizards and the breeding, captive breeding for release has ended. Suitable sites have got sand lizards and they're doing okay. I'm just hoping these little yearlings now put on their good adult size or get really good sized juveniles this year, so members of the public can really appreciate the beauty of British reptiles. Always a hard sell to the public compared to birds and butterflies, or even cute furry animals. And yet to me, our reptiles smash everything else into the weeds. We have so few species. Really, we should really be appreciating reptiles and amphibians. Just look at a male great crested newt in its full breeding dress. It doesn't get better looking than that. And I'm so glad they're in there. There's plenty of natural food in there. But after next week, if it does warm up again, we'll be throwing in lots of tiny crickets and micro wax worms just to supplement. But they're looking chunky enough for a 6 month sleep, that's for sure. Wow, the lizards are out. Which kind of means I've left it a bit a bit late to do my sort of twice or thrice a year gardening in there. We'll be cutting down a lot of that old stuff and letting the new stuff grow up. And the grass is great, but you have to hand pull quite a lot out. You don't want that all covered in grass. It's not really how a heathland works, so we kind of want to keep some sort of open dryness. That sort of heathland here, a bit more meadow-like. But again, you don't want it all getting too tall and grassy. It was grass around the edges once, and it's already creeping its way everywhere. Maybe later in the year, later in the month, we'll get some footage of those 2 species of natrix. Sue and Jess have been clearing out the butterfly and bee meadow, so this is full of butterflies, full of bees, and soon the amazing Buckingham Palace that Roy built will be absolutely alive with solitary bees ramming those tubes, and they'll all be coming out from last year's breeding cycle, where they'll be pupated in there waiting to come out for a new year. Down there we've got the slow worms, but we've got none of our snakes out, the North American snakes and some of the European and even tropical or subtropical rainforest snakes, which will be out. Blow me down. Is that a baby slow worm? I don't think you're going to see it through the glass. It's not been cleaned yet, ready for the public. Some of our baby slow worms from last year, look at that. So they're active, the sun's gone off them now. Time to stock up on some worms and some micro wax worms, which we tend to feed along with small mealworms. But again, it's a natural setup, and the worms and other livestock just breed in there. So spring's coming here. No one under there. And I have a chap that may be able to get me some common lizards, which I'd like to add for people to see. Lots of mammal activity in there from the voles and the shrews on site. Nothing else yet. And of course, if you've been watching the vlog channel or this reptile channel, you'll probably know that my toad enclosure, which is in a barn, rats chewed through the roof and ate my adult toads. So I'm hoping to get some frog spawn from my pond and some toad spawn to actually clear these out for the children to see once again, because most grown-ups don't know the difference between frog spawn and toad spawn, believe it or not. Well, the beehives kind of, I guess, have been thriving on neglect really for the winter. We've been checking them. They've got supplementary food and their own food. We haven't took any honey off this hive. It was a young colony about a year ago, so those guys are doing well. I was a bit worried. There was a little pile of dead bees, but just a bit of housekeeping. Obviously, there's no new bees in the winter, no newbies, so bees die of old age. And of course, they're cleared out by the cleaners, dropped outside. And of course, there's no new bees, I guess. Just a dormant, not dormant. They don't sleep. They don't hibernate. They're active and they keep warm in there. And they'll come out on a sunny day. But now, of course, the sun's out. There are flowers. And the honeybees are getting active. Are they important? They're only important for our crops, probably important for some pollination, but a lot of hives, listen, let's be honest, a lot of hives and a lot of bees are filching all that wild nectar from an often depleted countryside of nectar, and they're probably, to be honest, taken away from wild pollinators. And when we say we need the bees, we need bees, wasps, flies, moths, butterflies, flies. There's a myriad of species of pollinators out there. It's just that we've pretty much, I think the statistics are, in Britain, we've lost about 40% by numbers, not species, by numbers of our insect life in Britain. So yes, honeybees are important, probably more so because of our spraying of everything in my lifetime, because actually we've pretty much lost half of our insects. Agricultural practices all round, we all want to eat food. The farmers aren't to blame. Farming practices, though, certainly not doing our pollinators any good. In there, it's going to be the male Aesculapian snake this year. I'm going to leave the female separate. She'll eat more because in here, the colder weather, they won't feed as much. He's already at breeding size and he's big and chunky. She's way behind. He was desperately trying to mate with her last year, but I'm going to separate them and give her a year of real growing on away from him because they've always been housed together. So everything in here is derelict, not derelict, but abandoned from the beauty contest for winter. My toads have lived in there for years and years. Oh, should I have not put a metal roof on there, because they've all been lost. That's empty, just ticking over, so it's biologically sound. That'll just need cleaning up. It had sticklebacks last year. I want something else. I want to get a little baby pike. I used to keep so many baby pike as a kid. I think that'll be something interesting for the public, but we'll see. Up here, again, totally ready to be cleaned out. It's all biologically sound, it's working fine, it's healthy, just not clean from the public perspective because it doesn't need to be until Easter. My eels in there, really important story of them. And then again in here, it's going to need sprucing out. But the great crested newts, sadly we can't see all of him, just his tail. One of Britain's most beautiful animals is a male great crested newt. Now if you're going to keep great crested newts and not get yourself in an awful lot of trouble, they have got to be paper trail to pre-1981 captive animals, because that's when the wildlife, I forgot the word in there, Wildlife and Countryside Act changed, and that's when cooey, that's ugly, isn't it? That's not the most beautiful thing in the British countryside. That's when they became to the level of protection they've got. Always seen as reflection. So what looks like trash, oh, and in there was my fire salamanders, which are residing indoors at home because it just got, I didn't like it getting too cold. They weren't feeding, it was too cold. Hopefully they'll be back out, but rubbish for the public. The odd rainy day, they were out visible. So something's not so good. Another thing to the collection is hopefully Lee Brindley, who breeds these great crested newts, is going to provide me with some common frogs. Why do people want to see common frogs? Because they don't see them. And I want people to appreciate this stuff. Anyway, that video's in the bag. I just want to show you what was occurring on the outdoor side of things. Where is it?
Corner of the rock.
Which rock?
But not on the rock. The rock with sand on it with grass growing on top of it.
Can't even see that rock.
There's another one down there.
Hang on, I'm in the wrong place.
This one's going along the rock now. It's mid-rock.
Hang on.
Going into the nettles.
I'm looking
There
at
it
the
is.
wrong
There's
net.
another one there. Underneath the ladybird.
Can't see the ladybird.
Oh yeah, colourblind.
Hold on. Let me just get in.
Zoom in on that lake. Look, there it goes. Back towards the log. To your right, where your shadow is. See it?
Oh, there's the ladybird. Yeah, I can't see it there. I might be able to see it if I look later.
At the rock by the log.
The rock by the log.
You see the strip of light?
Oh yeah.
That's it. There it goes.
We're getting around a bit then. You can see little ants and things in there. Look, it's chasing stuff around, I think. Oh no, maybe not. That's cool.